Welcome to the Lord Slav panel discussion for Series 11, Episode 2, The Ghost Monument, written by Chris Chibnall. And today I have with me Jacob Licklider.
Hello. And you got my name right for once.
No, the only times I get it wrong, I do it on purpose to annoy you, but I'm saving...
It's a strange name, let's be honest.
Fair.
Yeah, and we have Joey Morgan.
Yellow.
And we have Stephen McRae. Wait, can I dox you? Is that allowed?
Do you like?
All right, yes.
You already did.
Yeah. Well, I could always cut it. I could always have cut it if he didn't want his name read out.
No, I don't mind.
All right, good. So thanks for all coming on, and Joey and Jacob have channels which I'll link in the description. Go check them out. They post some good content. I'm even on some of their videos. So, the Ghost Monument. So we're going to go through this in sections, and you'll all have a little time to talk about, and we'll kind of go around person by person, then just have a kind of general discussion. It's going to be, pretty structured as usual. So we're going to start off with the Doctor. What did you think of Jodie Whittaker in this episode, starting with Stephen?
Yeah, I felt she's kind of grown a bit over the short time we've seen her, and like comparing it to last week, she felt more toned down, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say so.
She had less of like a in-your-face personality, and she's more sort of akin to maybe not quite to the classic kind of Doctors, but less like Tennant kind of.
I know, I get what you mean. It's a lot less manic, which was one thing that was really putting me off in the first episode. The kind of manic whimsy is something we've seen a hell of a lot of with the past three Doctors, and it was just kind of a bit annoying and great to me, but they completely toned it down here, and I think it really works. She seems much more comfortable in acting it, and it's just not annoying. It's all pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I think she's doing a great job of playing the core values of the Doctor, which is, good enough for a strong start. And I think she's definitely improved through this episode. And I guess you could put Woman Who Fell to Earth down to like post-regenerative trauma. But I feel like by the end of the episode, she should have calmed down more to be what she was like in Ghost Monument, which was fairly enjoyable.
Well, she was a little bit like when she jumped across to the crane thing. But I know what you mean. It does seem like a bit of a sharp change, but I'm not going to complain because that was one of the things that I was really hung up about last episode because I wasn't really sure on Whittaker. But now I'm a lot more sure, and I'm looking forward to seeing where she goes with this.
It might help that this was the third episode she filmed, so she's obviously
okay.
Well, I don't know what order they were filmed in, so if you'd like to enlighten the audience.
Woman Who Fell to Earth and then Demons of the Punjab were the first block.
Okay, right.
Ghost Monument and Rosa were the second block. Episodes 4 and 7 were 3, 5 and 8 were 4, and 9 and 10 were 5. Basically.
All right. Yeah. That would explain it because he's often in some of these earlier stories, especially actors who have traditionally done much different roles to the Doctor, or don't really know that much about the show. Often do need time to kind of get into the role, and she definitely has in this one. I really liked her in this one. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of her, which is a world of difference from what I was saying last panel discussion. I'm really, really glad about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thus far... sorry. You can go.
Oh, me? Oh, no, I wasn't really saying much more.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, like, without prejudging a Doctor ranking, I said I was going to wait until the series is over to put her in my ranking, but I can say thus far she's not my least favorite Doctor. She's definitely better than Matt Smith thus far, for me at least.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I know what I'd put her above right now, but I don't want to commit to anything. I'm just going to wait till the end of the season when I feel I've really got a full flavour for this Doctor. Because, after all, remember in these first two episodes, she's changed, like, massively. Well, not massively, but there was a clear and very distinct difference. So who knows, maybe she might be different in the next episode. Maybe Chibnall's experimenting a bit, which I'm not necessarily opposed to, but we'll see. We'll see.
And Chibnall involved with the writing of the first 5 episodes. So he'll probably be playing around with the character a lot in those first couple episodes.
I'm pretty sure it's also been confirmed that we do have a writer's room this season. So Chibnall is heavily involved just in all the episodes in general. Although he doesn't have a writing credit on episode 6. Yes, which I think is good because, we saw with Class having an entire series written by one person isn't always the best for.
Honestly, I'm kind of worried how many episodes Chibnall's wrote. Because in my opinion, the showrunner shouldn't, they should definitely write maybe more episodes than most writers, but they shouldn't be writing the majority of episodes. I find it often, often gets a bit too much for them. They just end up, making a bit of filler.
I mean, that's what happened with Stephen
definitely,
Moffat,
he'll definitely be writing the finale, I'd say. So he'll definitely have over.
We've seen the list of writers for each story now, I believe, and he's writing the vast majority of them. Well, not the vast majority.
Yeah.
I think there's only 3 other writers, or is it 4? It's either 3 or 4 other writers writing for the show.
I think it's 4.
Yeah, it's 4.
It's 4 because
so he's writing
I know
6
episode
episodes.
3 is.
Yeah, and he's also co-writing episode 3 with Mallory Blackman.
All right, so I think we're going to move on to the companions now, and there's a lot of positive things said about them last episode other than Yaz, so let's see where they've went on from the previous episode. Would you like to start, Joey?
Yeah, sure. So I think for the most part, I'm enjoying them all about the same. I'd say Graham is still the biggest highlight of the 3 of them. Ryan's still a really solid character, and Yaz is just kind of there in the background. However, I think the biggest they've done a really great job of taking the great character traits of Graham and Ryan that were introduced in Woman Who Fell to Earth, and they did a great job of incorporating those into the story. They work really well as a part of the plot in Ghost Monument. Yaz has just always been a part of the plot. She never really had a great character from the beginning, and I think they've kind of already missed their opportunity to really develop Yaz, and I don't think there's much room for her to improve from this point, but I could be proven wrong. But overall, mostly the same opinions for me as the previous episode.
Now, I've really got to agree with you on the bit where you were mentioning how, developing Graham and Ryan's characters was really woven into the story quite well. You often find, especially in New Who, the character development's very intrusive. It's like the story is just completely put on pause, this is the character development scene, whereas it just seemed very natural here, which I quite liked.
I did love the scene where Graham sits down next to Ryan and goes, are we ever going to talk about your Nan? And it's just a part of the plot. It's not okay, now we need to talk about this. It's just, it's a fluid part of what they're doing as characters.
It reminded me of the scene in Tomb of the Cybermen with the Doctor and Victoria.
Yes, definitely.
The action has lulled a little bit. The characters have gotten through the adrenaline high of the spaceship crashing and all of that. We can just take that moment to be hey, last episode, someone you love died. Are you okay?
Yeah. That's good writing. It's very, very good character and story writing, for sure.
It's something that I think Russell T Davies often failed at, which people always say Davies was really character-driven.
It was one of my biggest fears going into this episode that Chris Chibnall isn't quite as strong on the sci-fi side of things, and he's always been more of a character drama writer, and he's really good at it. But I was afraid that was going to really be overbearing on the plot of this story. But I think it was woven in quite nicely, actually.
I think even though there's some critiques about the plot and the story itself, which I'll get onto later, but just from a very kind of broad point of view, he does manage to kind of get the best of both worlds in terms of developing characters well and having a good plot there.
I think it's kind of funny how Yaz is just sort of put in the background that even the Doctor forgets she's there in that first scene.
Yes! Just, hi Yaz, forgot you were there. Everything's going to be fine.
Yaz has about as much impact on the stories as Chameleon does.
Yaz is the new Chameleon.
Yaz is the new Chameleon. No, but seriously, I'm really hoping that they do something with Yaz.
Apparently, episode 4 is going to be her big episode. We're going to have her family.
Meanwhile, Chameleon is actually getting character development in Big Finish. How the tables have turned.
Joey.
Yeah, no, it's
you're never going to let me forget that.
It's pretty It's been pretty shit with Yaz. She's just went completely under the radar. We don't really know who she is. She hasn't really had any development. She is just completely in the background. She feels like she's more or less third wheeling.
All we got was stock up and coming police officer who wants to go on to bigger and greater things.
And she hasn't moved beyond that. She had that one scene where she was stopping the crowd.
Even with that little scene, there wasn't much. There.
Yeah, you established where she could go, but you haven't done anything with that.
But doesn't this really highlight the problem with having 3 companions but only having 50-minute stories?
Exactly. I would love it so much more.
Although I would just pause right there. to definitely get onto the rant about how we should have longer stories in the plot section. But I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah. I would much prefer it if Graham and Ryan were the only characters we were focusing on in the companion area of things.
Yeah, because they're going really well. I'm really enjoying both of them.
Yeah.
Stephen, would you like to talk about the companions? You haven't spoken yet. Spud's his nickname, by the way.
Well, what I will say about Yaz is she's not annoying. I mean, compared to all the other previous female companions, I know she doesn't have much going for her, but on the opposite end, she's not a hindrance or anything.
Well, for me, being so bland and in the background is annoying, to be honest. Just in a very different way.
It is a bit distracting.
Anyway, go on, Stephen. Sorry for interrupting.
What else have I got to add? Graham was good. Ryan, I like, but I'm not sure if I'm following what's going on with him. Because sometimes he's all right, mentally, and other times he just falls over. Does it just come and go, or?
I don't know the ins and outs on dyspraxia. Although from what I know, it's a bit more complicated than.
Yeah, it's. If I may,
heard of it. I thought they made it up.
What? No, it's a real thing.
No, it's not. They didn't fucking make up.
Okay. The BBC are definitely right to include this in Doctor Who to spread awareness if people don't know what it is.
I've literally never heard.
I mean, I didn't know much about it, but I knew it was a real thing.
If I may, it's Spud. Dyspraxia is mainly a coordination disorder, which is why he falls over a lot. Though, can I just say, it annoyed me that when the spaceship was crashing, they were running away from it instead of running to the sides.
I noticed that as well.
But it's just a TV trope. It's just something that fucking happens. You don't expect these characters to be realistic in this moment.
But it's a bad TV trope.
Oh my god, but they're never going to get rid of it. It makes for cinematic television, Jacob.
Although, to be fair, running to the side means that you're no longer going to be getting ahead of the ship, which means the wings might just take you off your feet.
I mean, I guess that's fair. But come on.
It's like in a thumb trap, anyway.
The best way to do it would be to go diagonal. Diagonal is the best way to go.
Also, as it was coming straight for them, they were running closer into its descent path. We're talking mathematically.
That's true.
Yeah,
they should have ran the other way.
Yes, run towards it, because then it'll go past you.
Well, sorry, you would look pretty stupid if you just yes, I'm going to run under it, and then it just takes your head off. So maybe they just wanted to save face, Jacob.
Maybe this isn't the right kind of plot to be putting logistics into what these characters would do.
Should we not dwell on the logistics of a spaceship nearly crashing into people?
I mean, why not? It's a panel discussion. Might as well get everything there.
Yes, but I hold the whip hand above you because I run this panel discussion efficiently. So, anything else to say about this companions?
Nope.
Alright, so let's move on to the side characters in this story. Would Jacob like to start?
I am glad that with Angstrom and Epso, they didn't try to make Epso a bad guy.
Yeah, I did like that, but
who
I don't know. They were kind of blank slates.
Yeah,
Really? No, I actually quite liked the two characters went along with. I
thought they were good. I thought it was really nice that Chibnall did have them both get along by the end. Just because you're so used. It could have been very much Angstrom is the saint in the right because she wants to save her people, and Epso is the wrong because he wants to be selfish and have money to live comfortably.
I mean, I appreciate that, but I'm still not fully on board with just how their characters were handled. It really is just, to me at least.
Really? I liked it. I felt they developed over the course of the story.
Yeah, I agree, actually.
Yeah, they seem to come to an understanding of each other, as people.
A lot of New Who really struggles to develop side characters because of the very short space of time in which it has to tell its story. But here, they actually managed to develop some side characters quite nicely, and I'll remember them. I'll probably remember them after the season, which
You know more about them.
I don't think I'll remember them. I don't know. I don't think I'll have strong.
Spud just made a good point there. We do remember them more than we remember Yaz. We know more about them more than we know about Yaz.
That's fair. But at the same time, I think they unfortunately kind of fall into the Chibnall trope of like every single character that every single character like who is a real person has to be a complete bastard. Like there's no like fun or happy qualities about them.
Well, I think that wasn't the tone of this story. I mean, look in the last story, there were kind of happy, chirpy characters like Grace, you know.
I really liked, I guess you could say, our antagonist, the guy running the race. I don't remember his name. He was
Ilan or Islet, something like that.
He needed way more development, but I liked the kind of Morgus vibes I was getting from him.
Yeah, he was more fun to watch than I think.
Yeah, there was a very good actor who was playing him. I really wish we could watch more.
I like how he just ignored the Doctor.
Yeah, it was quite good.
But what I didn't, and I liked the idea of like the weapons, like the cloth weapons. Like it's a really interesting idea, like gauze that will kill you. Like that.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that.
I'm not sure about those, but we'll get onto that in the plot. We're just focusing on the side characters. Yeah.
But I think Chibnall did a good job at keeping it like a smaller cast of characters, because
you can't have a big cast of characters with only 50 minutes.
Because unless you're doing a two-parter, you really can't. You need to have that smaller cast.
But also like Steven mentioned, like he spent so much time like on these characters who overall I didn't think was really effective in getting us to remember them, that we forgot about one of our main characters, Yaz.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that, but at the same time,
got rid of Yaz and then brought in one of those.
But at the same time, I'm just glad that there was actually, a story being told here rather than just focusing on the companions.
Yeah, there was a bit of world building too.
Yeah. Well, should we move on to the plot, the story now, since we kind of went through all the side characters?
Sure.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so the story, I really like the premise. I really like the premise of like this big space rally, and you've got to go, get it down from like 4,000 to one person who gets to live a life of luxury. And there's all these challenges and things like that. It seemed like a really good Doctor Who idea. The only problem is something like that to really be great needs a kind of more of an epic feel, which you just can't capture in 50 minutes, unfortunately. And while
and also with the
it
limited
almost
cap.
managed to, but it didn't because of how short it was. And it feels like, I think somebody I was talking to made quite a good comparison, how it feels like the Keys of Marinus if they just ended it at episode 2.
I guess
I feel like they also kind of cut to the end of a story. Like one of the early questions I had in the episode was like, well, shit, what happened to the other thousands of people involved in this? Even if we had it down to like 10 people, it would feel like more of a complete plot. It's just like I feel like we just got the very end of a more complete story.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine how great this story would have been if we started from earlier in the race and it was like, a 2-parter or maybe even a 3-parter. It would be amazing. It would be so much fun. It'd be like a great epic adventure story. Yeah. No, it'd be really, really good. Maybe not start at the beginning because 4,000's a bit much, but maybe like start, when it's getting down to about like, I don't know, 20 or something.
Yeah, like I really want to know like what happened to these other people. Did they die? Were they just disqualified for other reasons? I would have liked to have seen the stakes that caused it just to come down to these 2 people.
Yeah.
You want it to up like Gridlock?
Yeah, kinda. I guess they're like just more characters to make it feel like a more complete world. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Although I did like the world building in this, specifically for like the kind of desolate planet. Personally, I found the cloth things just a bit stupid, and I hated how they did that trope of them reading the Doctor's mind and saying what presumably is going to be the story arc, even though Chibnall said there wouldn't be a story arc.
That annoys me. That annoys me.
How
much you want to bet the Timeless Child is going to be like Susan or something.
It just sounds like another hybrid to me. It's just meaningless bollocks. It doesn't get me excited. It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake, I thought you were going to get away from this, Chibnall. You said there wasn't going to be a story arc. I was excited about that. And now we'd...
I mean, there isn't any proof.
I wouldn't mind it if they were setting up the Stenza as like a big bad for the season. That would be fine.
Yeah.
It does look like.
But
maybe. It's just the timeless child thing. It just sounds like all of the other really generic New Who stories where it's just like, oh, a word is repeated again and again. It's like, oh, what's the mystery? Here's the opening of the mystery box. It's just... I don't find it interesting. It's just a really worn-out, boring trope. And I'm annoyed that it's back, if indeed it is.
It only worked with the Pandorica, but that was because that was also the cracks in time, and there wasn't.
Oh god, no, the Pandorica was just as pandering as all the other.
Yeah, I agree with Joey here.
Yeah,
I say the Pandorica actually worked because there was actually a couple of. It actually tried to weave an arc through things.
Yeah, it was like multi-layered, I guess.
Barely. The only time the arc actually affected the plot, other than the finale, was Cold Blood.
And
the Time of Angels.
What's up?
And the Time
of Angels. And Vampires of Venice.
But it also felt quite intrusive and tacked on into the story. Those stories.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of these stories, and I'm really annoyed that they're back because Chibnall said they wouldn't be, and that was one thing I was excited about for this series.
Here's the thing. There's a difference. If I may, there's a difference between a showrunner being misled and then outright lying to you. And it's not a good tactic to outright lie to your audience.
And because of this, I feel like he might be lying about no returning monsters or characters.
Yeah. I mean, he did say no story arc, and then this appears like it's going to be a story arc.
Now, to be fair, we also don't know how far this timeless child thing is going to go.
Yeah.
It could just be something like some sort of secret the Doctor's hiding, and, the Doctor tells her companions about this, and that's where it ends. But it could be like this big blown-out arc that is going to...
If what you're saying is true, then I won't mind it as much.
My money is that it's going to be left... No one's going to mention it again until, Series 12.
Oh, God. That would just be even more annoying and fucking pandering.
Yeah. Although, to kind of get back on the positives about the story, one thing I did really like about it is just how all of the world building and the atmosphere felt. It was a story with real atmosphere, and at least until about the last 15 minutes, I was really, really getting into it. It's just a shame that it had to end just so abruptly, and it didn't manage to kind of fully transcend into that kind of very epic feel, which
what's kind of funny is the plot.
You want to know what it felt like? It felt like the TARDIS scene at the end. It felt like the TARDIS scene at the end was written first, and then
they built a story around
Chibnall already had, or that Chibnall and that Chibnall had most of the race stuff, but no way to connect it. So he was just like, random dot connection. There we go. There's the TARDIS. You're happy.
What's also kind of funny is that the plot literally disappears. Yes. He snaps his fingers, and then the characters and plot just disappear, and the Doctor and the companions are left alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I did feel... one thing I will say is those weird cloth things. I did say earlier I wasn't really a fan of them, and they were defeated way too easily. They just kind of appeared in the plot and then just disappeared almost as quick.
Yeah. Although what I do like actually is the incorporation of the TARDIS into the plot. Having it not just be tacked on with it, the TARDIS is actually something that they're after alongside our characters.
It also sort of implies that the TARDIS has been there for years.
Yeah, no, totally.
Well, they didn't say how long a year was on that planet, though.
True. Although it looks like it might be... Well, I don't know if it'd be quicker than ours, but we know the planet rotates faster, as they said night comes quicker.
Yeah.
I don't know if that necessarily means it orbits faster, but anyway.
Yeah, because
we're getting into astrophysics here, and this is not an astrophysics.
It's plot-related.
It's plot-related astrophysics.
I'll leave it to the astrophysicists to work out how long a year on this planet
is. Yes, because you have so many astrophysicists that watch you.
What was the planet called?
Pardon?
What was the planet called? Did it have a name?
They said it didn't have a name, and they just called it Desolation or something.
That doesn't sound like a Terry Nation script at all.
Yeah, they call it Desolus if it was Terry Nation.
deadly.
It's just this completely blank planet. I'll leave it up to the director to make those creative decisions.
No, Terry Nation, like the planet Eve, like I mean, that's the reason why I say desolate is because like the desert planet in the chase is Aridius.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was like in the same star system as Iridius. It's also
the most obviously named planet solar system.
There's just this whole solar system of blank slate planets that mean nothing.
It's like Skaro, scarred by nuclear war, Desolus,
and then the sun is just called Hot Boy.
Tercerus.
Oh, God.
Right, I think we should probably move on now, since I think we've covered the story, unless any of you have anything else to say about it.
Oh, wait, I have a question. Is there a direction
section?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool, because we have thoughts on that.
So do I.
Yeah.
But before the direction bit, we're going to talk about the music. As I really felt it was worth having its own category for this, because goddamn, the music here.
It's so cool.
It's so good.
It's Segun Akinola. I'm glad he's continuing Murray Gold's tradition of using leitmotif, but he's not making it so bombastic. Like,
yeah, I like that. And also, this episode, I think, was big on atmosphere in quite a few different areas. The atmosphere of the script.
It's a kind of atmosphere that Murray Gold's over-the-top music would have ruined. But the kind of very alien and very subtle feel of Segun Akinola's music just goes absolutely hand in hand and makes the, at least, until the last 50 minutes, this story just such a pleasant, lovely experience.
You know that scene where the Doctor and her companions and the supporting characters are running down that big silhouette hall and and you could barely see any of them, but like it just looks really nice.
Yeah.
Could you imagine just I Am the Doctor fucking blaring?
Yeah, exactly. That would have ruined it. But Segun Akinola's music, it really enhances it. He's so good. He's so much better than Murray Gold. I love him.
Oh yeah.
Akinola knows that it's like, this is a tense moment. We aren't supposed to be blaring some victorious theme. I am the Doctor.
Yeah, well, I think that just kind of extends into the fact that the series is a lot more down to earth now. Which, thank God, I've hated how up its arse the series has been since about series 2, which obviously that's most of New Who. And I'm really glad that's finally coming to an end, as I really did not like it.
I think this episode does something really interesting in that you could still be a down-to-earth series and still do good sci-fi and world building around it with different worlds and different planets, and still have those elements
out of
still
this
being
world
down to
sci-fi.
Yeah, you could still have
Russell T's Down to Earth, where Russell T's Down to Earth was literally on Earth. You had to have everything happening there, and where this just feels more down to Earth, but it's just a feel. It's not like we're literally on Earth every episode.
Yeah, you can have an epic feel while being quite down to earth in terms of just not being up your arse, just telling a kind of a really nice story which doesn't feel too overblown.
Yeah.
And the music was great. Anything else to say on it before we move on?
Can we talk about the theme tune here, or?
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And the title sequence in general.
Why not?
Because I have one big quibble with the title sequence, and it's the names. They are not.
Shut up!
They are not in time with the music.
What?
Yeah, well, to be fair, literally every Peter Capaldi intro was out of sync. Well, not literally, but most of them were. So this is not a new thing for Doctor Who.
Yeah, but look, if they could manage it in the 1970s with John Pertwee in the credits. You can manage it now. It's even with the fast theme, it's uneven and I hate it.
Yeah, no, I've got to agree. How can they not manage that these days? Considering, I mean, I could do it on my fucking shitty editing software I use to make my videos. It's not difficult. I mean, no, seriously, look at my the intro for each panel discussion. The text changing is in tune with the music. Just like how it was back then. But apparently you just can't manage that on a massive budget at the BBC.
Also, I would have liked Whittaker's face incorporated in the title somehow. Other than that, the titles are really good.
Yeah, I love the visuals of the titles. However, I'm not a huge fan of the theme. I think the theme is a bit too self-indulgent.
How?
It's I think it's self-indulgent. Like you could hear the influences of classic Who in there. It's like, okay, well, I get it, you're making a reference, but I feel
it's not making a reference. It's just kind of going down, just kind of a reworking of the Doctor Who theme. It's kind of more with the going a bit more down to earth kind of feel. I feel that's what the title sequence is trying to represent. You know,
I don't know. I think it doesn't.
Joey, if I may defend, because comparing it, okay, so the way the themes up until this one have gone is that Gold specifically looked at the McGann theme for his first theme, and then for the Smith theme, he built off of his first theme, and then he kept building on his themes. Whereas Akinola is going all the way back to the Derbyshire arrangement, that's why it has that feel, because he's specifically going off that original arrangement.
I don't know. I still disagree, because I feel like if you're too self-indulgent, and
how is it self-indulgent? I don't understand how.
I explained how it's self-indulgent.
Yeah, but I didn't understand how that makes it self-indulgent. It's just going back to basics a bit with it, but also Second Akino's own take on it. I don't see what's self-indulgent about it.
I don't know. I think just another. I don't know. I think another forced reference isn't a way to.
It's not a reference. It's not a reference.
It is. It's just
I think it's just a
giant reference.
They've been using the same core elements for the theme since the beginning of the show. Are they all just self-indulgent references, or only this one?
You could literally hear the exact old theme in this.
You can hear that in every title sequence.
Yeah, you could. They don't really even change the key too much. And
I'm fucking talking about how you could literally just hear
but
the
how
exact.
Is that self-indulgence?
What makes that bad? I mean, that's like probably
think of like the fucking Howl theme. Like you can't literally hear the Hartnell theme in that. It's just the same arrangement.
Yeah, well, so why is it bad that there's a little bit of the Hartnell theme in it? Why is that self-indulgent?
You can fucking hear it.
Well, what's wrong? I don't understand why this is self-indulgent.
It's fucking self-indulgent. I don't know.
Doesn't make sense.
Look, it's okay.
Look, I tell you what would make it self-indulgent.
Look, Dylan,
when the Hartnell theme plays, just Chibnall's face comes on the screen, just does a massive wink. That would be self-indulgent.
I'm not saying it's self-indulgent to the Chibnall.
Dylan, if I may remember, Joey likes Warriors of the Deep.
Oh, okay, right. That explains everything. We can move on now.
So I'm not saying it's self-indulgent to the Chibnall. I'm saying it's self-indulgent and just relying too much on the continuity of the show.
So you would have liked something just different sounding from what we had before.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty different from the themes we've had for a very long time. You know, remember the Hartnell era was 50 fucking years ago.
Calling back to the really old ones isn't a way to make something new. You're just literally just ripping off an old version of the theme.
But it's not exactly
Every theme is based off the original version. I just don't see what's wrong with this.
I'm just saying I would have preferred something different. It's not a huge gripe. It's not hindering my enjoyment of the show. I think the titles look phenomenal. I just don't like the sound of it.
Well, I think the way that you have your name as your YouTube channel is self-indulgent, Joey. That's all I'm saying.
Well, then we could say the same about Jacob Whittaker.
Yes, we can. All right, so let's move on to direction now before we get into any more
it's amazing
semantics. Right? You can start, Jacob, since you jumped in there straight away.
It is so much better. Last week I had a problem with just all the little cuts. Like there were points where it was just doing quick cuts, which is a problem that I've seen in quite a bit of modern Who with Ed Bazalgette, who in the later Moffat era.
God, he was a terrible director.
Yeah, Childs wasn't as bad as that, but they were slightly similar styles. This Mark Tenderi is really, really good at getting he knows how to frame a shot really well. Just sort of.
It feels a lot more crisp and real than the more saturated Woman Who Fell to Earth.
He's better. He knows how to convey the tone, and he's directing next week too, which is
that'll be.
It's going to look nice, even if the story's horrible.
Yeah, but the only problem is he won't have as good of things to work with, because how luscious and beautiful was the location filming in South Africa?
Oh no, next week's also filmed in South Africa.
It's one of the but I mean they'll just be in a town. They're not going to be these vast oases and desert mountains, you know.
Yeah. Also, they I was thinking back to I think just comparing it to the other. We spent a bunch of money to go international footage to film in a desert with Planet of the Dead back in Davies. Like, compare the direction there and here.
Oh god, it's really bland.
Miles apart. Like,
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. The direction and the location here was so good. It was breathtaking at points, and we were all going on about how good the atmosphere in this story was, and a large part of that is down to how good the directing was, for sure. It was excellent.
The atmosphere of the story just came together so well, mixing the direction, the script, and the music especially.
The moments where we were lingering on like the gauze on the floor, like that was really nice. Like, just because it sort of brings in that question of like, why are we lingering on it? Like, what?
Yeah, I know. I watched this a second time just today, just because I wasn't fully concentrating when I first watched it, and I did notice a lot of foreshadowing for the goals. Like, we're constantly focused on it. It was very good.
Yeah, I think also I know I mentioned it before, but I really do like the feel of the shots of them running, that silhouette shot when they're all escaping from the remnants. I think that looked really nice. It had a nice atmosphere to it.
The little moments with Yaz waking up on the spaceship and the spaceship like inside the spaceship as it's crashing, those are also like really good at conveying just sort of like just that sense of confusion.
Yeah. And then the sense of urgency when they crash landing. I really like that scene. I mean, it was basically that was the scene that kind of made me like, okay, maybe Jodie's actually going to be quite good. The scene where she's just like, "Just land the bloody ship," it was really good. It was good to see a much more serious side of a Doctor, but also still having time for a couple of quips here and there.
Yeah. I loved her quip of here, take these shades. I either borrowed them off of Audrey Hepburn or Pythagoras.
No, my favourite one was when he was saying there's songs sung about the ship, and says, well, there's going to be bloody operas sung about it if you don't jettison the back of the ship. It's like, it's great stuff. It's great stuff.
Yeah. Spud, what did you think of it? Spud, fucking Steven.
No, Spud. His name's Spud.
Yeah, stick with Spud. It's much easier for everybody.
Alright, fine. Spud, direction. What did you think?
Direction. I just agree with everything you guys have said, to be honest. I don't think I've done much to add.
Thank you, sycophant. No, I'm joking. Is there anything else to add on the direction before we move on to overall thoughts?
We haven't even talked about the TARDIS yet.
Well, I suppose we can talk about the TARDIS if you want to.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I really like the direction.
Can I say one thing about direction before you do that? Before we talk about the TARDIS?
The direction of that scene is like really good at conveying the emotion of the Doctor finding her ship again.
Yeah. But I know we were ripping on the scene earlier about the logistics of them running away from the ship, but I did think that looked really nice, and there was a nice scope to that scene.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we'll talk about the new TARDIS now. We'll let Stephen go first, so we don't swamp over him with our voices, which unfortunately we seem to do, but I think you're just a bit more naturally quiet than we are.
Yeah, that seems to be the way. First time on this as well, so I'm not as adept as most. New TARDIS was bright, was very different, looks good, looks loads of circles. I like this kind of sort of, I would say almost clockwork vibe it's got.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of, the Invasion of Time, that weird room the Doctor has made for him.
Oh, yeah, that room. With the gears on the wall?
Yes, that one.
Dylan, are you using the Invasion of Time as a positive point of reference?
I never said it was positive. They haven't moved on to my thoughts yet.
It's not terrible.
I feel like I feel like Dylan and I might agree on the TARDIS. May I give my thoughts?
Sure. If Stephen's finished, that is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the TARDIS, I'm a bit mixed on it. I like some things about it. First off, I think the exterior looks really nice. It's a lot more grounded.
It's not fat as well.
And, yeah. But then the interior. I like the sort of pantry, I guess, walkway that of the spacing of the ship before you get into the actual console room. I like that a lot. And I like the motif of the walls. I think the walls look really nice. Everything around the console is cool. But then once you get to the console and those fucking big ass crystals around them, it's too much. I think it's so overbearing.
I don't know.
I've got to agree with what you said, and I'm going to kind of add to it as, for me, when a good TARDIS is homely, we look for like Hartnell's TARDIS or Capaldi's TARDIS or the Eighth Doctor's TARDIS. I really like the kind of homely vibe because bear in mind this is the Doctor's home. He spends a lot of time in here. You know, if it doesn't look like his home, it just I just don't buy it. And I think this looks way too mechanical and high tech.
Yeah, if you try to make it this big high tech sci-fi ship, then it's not going to feel like a place where these people spend hours and days and weeks on end traveling in.
Yeah.
It also doesn't help that you have the high techness and then the random dispenser for little sandwich cookies.
The custard cream. Yeah, that was stupid. That was.
Also, what is with the little fucking spinning crystal TARDIS on the console?
Yeah, that was a bit weird. It looks like the kind of fit, like, you know, if you're playing with your toys, like, oh, I'm going to put my little TARDIS on top of the TARDIS console.
I wouldn't mind it maybe if it was like this shows what the TARDIS looks like on the outside, but there's no point as the chameleon circuit is broken.
Yeah.
I can't say I was a fan, but that's just my preference. I mean, it looks nice, but it just isn't the TARDIS I want. Like, I prefer a homely TARDIS. That's the kind of TARDIS I can really buy.
Yeah. I mean, it's not as bad as
it's big. It's got a good production value on it, but like it's like I said, it's just too much. There's too much going.
It looks too much like art, not enough like, you know, where somebody lives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like if somebody lived in the Sydney Opera House. It'd just be a bit stupid, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Is it supposed to be like the TARDIS just reset itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, they pulled that shit again, which I don't.
I'm not.
Why did they always need to have that explanation?
I don't know.
Isn't it nicer when the Doctor just does it up himself, like he did in the 5 Doctors?
Because then it's more personal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This way, it just seems like, I'll take it and deal with it. You don't really have an option.
Yeah, like there's so many times in the books and in audios even even in like Mask of Mandragora, it's like they just changed the TARDIS. They just changed it a bit. They didn't have to have some big reason that it had to regrow itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just went into a different room in the Mask of Mandragora. Yeah, this is the second room that I've had here for ages. Anyway, we're kind of running out of time, so I'm going to have to move on to final thoughts.
Wait, but before that, I do want to say one thing about the TARDIS. I do like that they stepped away from the trope of everybody of that new Who is hammered in, especially if everybody's saying that it's bigger on the inside.
Yeah, I think, but to be fair, these people were very much over weird alien stuff at this point. So that helps. That helps. But anyway, final thoughts. So I just want you to kind of wrap up your thoughts on the story and give it a score out of 10. So we'll start with Jacob.
It was good. I think some people are saying it was better than last week. I say it's at least the same amount of enjoyment for last week, just for slightly different reasons in places. I think I'd have the same amount of criticisms. In my reaction, I gave it a 7 out of 10, and I think I'd stick with that. It's a solid episode. And, just doing a string of solid episodes of consistent quality is what the show kind of needs right now. We got that with a little bit with Series 10, but with Series 11, we really have a chance. You have the ratings automatically increase because new Doctor and first female Doctor,
and
which
new era, as people were very
and new era,
old stale.
Yeah, I was surprised that we didn't. The ratings didn't drop more between the first 2 episodes. Overnights were 8 million for Women Who Fell to Earth and 7 million for
That's
Ghost
insanely good. That's an insanely good retention rate.
In today's world where not a lot of people watch, and even for Women Who Fell to Earth, 2 million people watched in the U.S. during the simulcast, which is doesn't count in the ratings. But just for an American audience in the middle of the day on a Sunday, that's amazing. Because
you don't get massive viewers in the US, do you?
Yeah, we don't. That's why 2 million is just amazing, because that means 2 million people were watching.
That's why a lot of fucking Yank fans think that Doctor Who is this niche thing, because not a lot of people watch it here, but it really is, much more than that.
Yeah.
Right, anyway,
it's
Joey,
also,
would you like to give
yeah.
your final thoughts now?
Sure. I think overall, Ghost Monument was an improvement on Woman Who Fell to Earth, if only slightly. Things that needed to be improved, improved. I think Jodie was better. I think the direction was slightly better. TARDIS, obviously, very mixed on it. Things that were good stayed the same. Graham and Ryan, the plot was all right. Things that were bad, unfortunately, stayed bad. Yaz, not much more to say on that. And the Timeless Child shit is probably going to get really annoying if they keep going with it. But overall, it was better. I would give it the same score as Woman Who Fell to Earth, 7 out of 10. But really, I want to lead a bit more to like a 7.5. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right, Stephen, would you like to give your final thoughts then?
I would agree on it. It was a slight improvement on last week. The Doctor felt more doctory. I like the atmosphere. The new TARDIS looks at least TARDIS-y, looks good. I think I like the look of it. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. So.
Yeah, very good. So what I thought is, I liked it more than the previous episode. I was really strung along with it in terms of the amazing direction, really good atmosphere it had, which was really helped by the music, and also really, really strong writing in terms of just, keeping me carried along and, character writing and things like that. It was only really in the last 50 minutes where it started to lose me. And it's a problem, like with many other new episodes, where it could be fixed by just being a bloody 2-part, or at the very least having a bit longer. As this kind of story that it was going for, which is very interesting, needs a lot longer to truly reach its potential. 50 minutes really wasn't enough, sadly. The Doctor was much better this episode, and I'm really glad to say it. I'm really glad that I'm going to get to like Jodie, at least if it stays at this kind of quality, or perhaps, dare I say, gets any better. Really like Graham and Ryan, as everybody else is saying. Yaz, bit meh. But overall, really enjoyed it, but still has a lot of flaws. But, let's see where it goes from here. I'm sure the series is still finding its feet in this, brand new era, which is much different from what we've seen before, and I'm looking forward to see where they go. All right, so that's a wrap, everybody. So I'd like to thank Jacob, Joey, and Stephen for all coming on.
Yeet.
You're very welcome.
And I shall see you all back next time for episode 3, Rosa. Goodbye.